So hey guys, the series name is What If Naruto Become the Heir of Nazarick in Overlord. So let's start the series. Blood, that was all Naruto could see as he watched on with dulled eyes at the very people who he tried to protect. His eyes dulled and his heart slowly stopping. He looked over to see Sakura still holding her precious Sasuke and wept for him. Kakashi was in the same boat as he stood over Sasuke and held his head low. He should have known this was a trap, but would they listen to him? No, the mission to Wave was meant to be a simple one, guard a bridge builder and then go home when the bridge was done. Too bad there was a fooning ambush waiting for them on the final day the bridge would be done. So here he was, lying in a pool of blood, Zabuza's sword sticking out his back. So this was how he'd die. A child that was abandoned at birth and one that will remain as such until he died. Do you want to live? Came a voice from inside his head that sounded to be that of a female's voice. Do you want to live? It came again. I do, replied Naruto weakly. Then accept the power, become the nightmare of all, return to who you were, said the voice, and Naruto's body caught alight. The people gathered turned and found the blazing body of Naruto. Unholy black flames that flared with so much hatred and rage they looked to be that of a demon's flames. Groaning as he got up from the floor, slowly sliding up the sword that was impaled in him, he growled as his blood gushed out from it. Finally having the blade removed, Naruto's eyes shot open and behold, they were glowing a pure blue color as tribal tattoos burned their way onto his skin with his hair turning a charcoal black. His fatal wound closed in a matter of seconds, and what looked to be a strange demonic gauntlet burst to life on his left arm. And it was what looked like a flame that was burning brown. Turning to look at the sword that was still in the ground which had impaled him, he grabbed the handle and watched as his powers turned it into something more different. The handle was now a full black with a matching blade, as well as a sheath appeared on the floor in a vortex of flames. The sword then changed shape and became a very badass-looking okatana. Picking up the sheath, Naruto in his frenzied state turned to Gado, who was now shooting himself. Taking the blade and sheathing it, he got into a stance that looked to be ready to draw the blade, which he did. But he did it so fast all you saw was a flash of black steel and then it was back in the sheath. But not all the way in. Naruto then slowly sheathed it, and when the click was heard, several of Gado's men's heads slid off their shoulders and dropped to the floor with a common thud. Everyone gathered was so shocked at what they saw, but Gado decided to get the hell out of there. But as he took a step the other way, he was cornered by what looked like small little demon things. Their skin matched the same as the flame dancing in Naruto's gauntlet. Master, what are your orders? Asked one of the Browns. Kill him, said Naruto as his eyes went from a pure blue to a demonic red. The Browns did just as their master commanded them to do, for Browns grabbed Gado's limbs and began to have a nice game of tug-of-war. Gado's screams were music to Naruto's twisted, frenzied mind. Seeing them slowly pull the man apart, Naruto felt he should at least test his new powers out, especially the new katana he had. The blade in its sheathed form just screamed power and destruction. But he felt there was more to his new powers. Wait, ordered Naruto, and Browns groaned at having their fun removed. Thrusting his hand out in front of him, he watched as lightning began to arc all over his hand. His nails grew into claws and his one eye gained black veins in them. Getting his bearings right and judging on how much he had to fire the bolt, he fired it. Devil's curse, he shouted as the bolt was fired. The bolt hit Gado square in the chest, thinking it was slowly destroying him. Gado screamed in absolute pain, but after a few minutes, he felt nothing, smiling evilly as he got up and pushing his sunglasses up. He eyed Naruto. Nice try, that was Path. He didn't finish as he felt his heart beat at an irregular pace. Dropping his cane and clutching his chest, he began to sweat up a storm as tattoos slowly crept over his skin, turning his skin from a white to a midnight black. But that was when the real horror played out, with his skin now full black, and his heart accelerated. His skin began to fall off in chunks of flesh, dropping onto the floor as he began to scream in pain from what Naruto had done to him. Why, you bastard! He shouted as he death-glared Naruto. Devil's curse, the ability to corrupt an individual to where his skin becomes nothing but rotten lumps of nothing, said Naruto, shocked that he actually knew what the spell he just did. Please save me. I'll give you anything you wish, begged Gado, only Naruto to draw his katana and slice the wind with it. Slowly sheathing it, Gado knew he was done for. Hearing the click, his body exploded with a volley of blood and gore going everywhere. Well, that's that, said Naruto as his form vanished and he was back in his regular body. Swaying from side to side, He dropped to the floor, but the tribal tattoos stayed on his body. Think of the tattoos from Owari no Seraph when he uses Azuramaru's power. Picking up Naruto, Kakashi found him to be slightly more different. There was a feeling that there was another presence. Something that felt so strong it wouldn't even be considered human anymore. It wasn't the Kyuubi, as Kakashi knew from experience what the Kyuubi's chakra felt like. This was more dense, more powerful. He also grabbed the katana which lay by Naruto's side. Telling Sakura to take Sasuke to Tsuna's house, they walked back to the house. Laying Naruto on the couch, he began to assess the child's body. The tattoos were a sure sign that there was something wrong with him. Finding no form of the sword apart from the sheer feeling coming off him, he decided to do some research on what was wrong with him. Leaving the house and going to the library in the village, he walked out, with Sasuke. Waking up with a groan, he pulled himself up to find he was in one of the rooms in Tsuna's house. He spotted Sakura sitting by the bed and wondered how he got here, so he tapped Sakura to break her out of her trance. "What happened?" he asked. "You were passed out, and the thugs as well as Gado is dead. As well, Naruto Baka is sleeping. He is so useless," she said. Dumb bitch. "Okay," said Sasuke as he got up and made his way downstairs, only to see Naruto covered in what looked to be flames that burned with a furious nature. But they didn't look to be hurting him. They more looked to be assessing him. The flames were a blue color, and his tattoos also glowed along with the flames. Sasuke could feel the sheer strength the flames held and felt his blood boil. How could one person have so much power which rightfully belonged to him? He deserved that power, not this asshole. Walking over to the flames, he reached out only to watch them lash out at him. Rearing his hand back, he took notice of the nice katana that leaned against the couch he lay on. Smirking at the fact that the sword should belong to him, he walked over to it. But as he reached UT for it, 4 green minions came out of their cloaked positions and surrounded the blade. They glared ice-cold daggers at the assailant and bared their teeth. "Leave our master's weapon," they growled. "That sword belongs to me. As well, serve me and you'll gain more than you could ever imagine," said Sasuke, smirking like he was some sort of god. "You don't hold the markings, you are unworthy," said another of the minions. "You will serve me," shouted Sasuke as he went straight for the blade, only to feel a hand wrap around his arm. Looking at who it was, he paled as he looked at the very person he thought of as an idiot. "Don't ever touch my katana," said Naruto as his one eye caught alight with the flame being a brilliant red. "Don't order me, dope," said Sasuke as he broke Naruto's grip on him and reached for the sword, only to have a bolt of lightning hit his hand and electrocute him. "That is a warning. Never touch the sword. If you fail to learn, I'll destroy your body in ways you couldn't even imagine," said Naruto as he picked up the blade. "As if," snorted Sasuke as he walked off, a few sparks of lightning arcing around him still. Deciding to get to know what he had become, he sat down and began to meditate. Entering his mindscape, he came face to face with his inmate, the Kyuubi no Yoko. "So, the young master returns. What can I do for you?" asked the great beast. "You know quite a bit on what I have become. What has happened to me?" queried Naruto. "Who are you?" asked Naruto, not knowing who this woman was. "Yami-sama, what brings you here?" asked Kyuubi as he bowed low to the ground to the demon goddess. "Wait, you're Yami?" asked Naruto, clearly seeing that she fitted the description well. "There's more to the story. I'm also your mother," said Yami, making Naruto shoot back a few feet with so many questions going through his mind. What? Was all he could say as he had a hard time believing this woman, a goddess at that, was his mother. "I'm your mother, Sochi. Your father was a human man I fell in love with. I'm truly sorry for not being there for you," said Yami, now tearing up at the fact that her son went through hell. "Then if you're my mother, how come I don't remember you? Or my father for that matter," said Naruto as he scratched his head. "Your father, why didn't that bastard tell you?" growled Yami as she made her hands into fists in rage. "Who was my father?" asked Naruto. "His name was Enishi. He was given your sword by his father. Somehow he managed to imbue the katana with a very powerful ability which has the ability to cut time and space itself. The very blade was so powerful it sliced straight into my realm, and for some reason he made his way to where I lived. Long story short, we started dating, and pretty soon, we got married. Then I gave birth to you," said Yami, making Naruto go wide-eyed. "Why wasn't I told any of this?" asked Naruto. "Dunno, but I know for a fact that I'll kill the people who did this," growled his mother. "Don't need to. I've got these gremlin things and they're badass as hell," said Naruto, smirking. "So the choosing has already been done. said Yami, making Naruto gain a question mark above his head. The what? Asked Naruto. The choosing is a means to have a new overlord if you would. Basically, an overlord is a being who is destined to make the whole world an empire under his rule. It is your job to go and gather as many forces as you can and make them your followers, be it through diplomacy or dictatorship, said Yami, smiling lovingly to her son. And the gremlin things? Asked Naruto. They are the minions, they follow you anywhere, they even do trivial things for you, no questions asked, said Yami as she saw Naruto nod at understanding what she was talking about. And spells? Asked Naruto. Only you and your descendants can use it. Thanks to the blood flowing through your veins on my side, you have gained feats of power never seen before. The spell you used, Devil's Curse, is one of those abilities. By focusing a small piece of your soul, and a piece of your strength, you are able to do it, said Yami. And what about my body? Asked Naruto. That was a small bit of your overall power surfacing. Your awakening forced all your latent hidden potential to be forced into overdrive when you awoke. Your body, which shifted as it did, was your true form. Your glowing neon blue eyes was your pure power we call blaze power. The power which stemmed from your father's side of the family. Your blazing red left eye is on my side. As you've noticed my eyes blazing as yours, that's on my side of the family, said Yami. What exactly was my father like? Asked Naruto. He was a brilliant man. He came from a dead line of legendary beings. They called themselves heroes. They specialized in the extermination of killing monster and demon alike. I am the goddess of demons and he was my husband. How cliché and forbidden can you get? Asked Yami with a slight chuckle. I think it's sweet, a life that people don't understand. It's like a Romeo and Juliet story, said Naruto. Oh, Sochi, you know exactly what to say when it comes to women, said Yami as she blushed. So, when can I unlock my full power on both sides? Asked Naruto. In time with serious training, said Yami. As you grow more, you begin to unlock more powers. The more strength you gain, the more you will be able to grow into your true body. Okay, thanks Kasa-san, said Naruto as he vanished from sight. Yami-sama, I will take very good care of your son, said Kyubi as he bowed again to the goddess. Many thanks Kyubi, said Yami as she vanished from her son's mind. Waking up and finding Sakura standing before him, he groaned as he got up and walked away. Naruto Baka, she shouted. What? Asked Naruto without turning around. Give Sasuke-kun that power, he deserves it more than you, she screeched, making Naruto block his ears. Getting very irritated by her antics, he drew the sword and aimed it at her jugular. Never ever tell me what to do. I would easily butcher your ass if you even try and get within 10 feet of me, said Naruto coldly as he slowly sheathed the sword, making Sakura get scared and run away. Naruto smiled and fully sheathed the sword with a click being heard. Nothing happened. He was just bluffing as to not using the dimension slicer. Or maybe there was something wrong with it. Naruto Dano, boomed Kyubi's voice from in his mind. What? Asked Naruto. Your father's sword. It is Yamato, the legendary dimension slicer. It has a set number of dimension slicers it can do. Based off your current power level, you would only be able to handle 10 dimension slicers. The more your powers unlock, the more slicers you can do, said Kyubi. Thanks for the heads up, said Naruto. Walking out of the house, he wondered just how powerful he was. If he had this much strength, what would he be like when he was older? He was in Lament's terms, a demigod, the offspring of a goddess and a mortal being. He was definitely planning on using his powers to do the world a favor, either by destroying it, or purifying it to save the people. He was going to take the whole world by storm. With the bridge now being completed, Naruto and Team 7 walked back to the village. As well, the little Oompa Loompa followed them to the village. Now that Naruto had his true power awakened, the fact with his flaming red eye was just purely a dead giveaway of what people would call him. They called him a demon and such, but they were only half right. Sometimes he found it was nice that his mother was the goddess of demons, but it would be a pain should people continue calling him a demon. He was pretty sure even demons got annoyed by people calling them demons. All along the way, Naruto was getting very pissed off. Reason? One word, Sasuke. The little shit kept demanding that Naruto should give him that power and also demanded the minions that followed Naruto. Sasuke, say one more thing about taking away my powers and the things I have, and I will send you to hell, snarled Naruto as he turned around with his hand making its way to the katana. Like you could, retorted Sasuke with cocky smirk. Wanna test that theory? challenged Naruto darkly. That's enough, both of you, said Kakashi, stepping into the argument before it turned bloody, and after seeing what that katana could do, was just something that called for serious precautions. Finally making it to the gates, they made their way to the Hokage tower, who nearly had a heart attack when he saw Naruto, staring at the young teen who had taken on a very drastic change, not to mention the flaming left eye which gave off a very uneasy feeling for him. And Naruto-kun, good to see you again, said Hiruzen as he gave a weak smile, not wanting to speak about his changes. Sup, was all Naruto said as he looked around in a bored tone. So what is the report? Asked Hiruzen as he looked over to Kakashi. Kakashi gave him the rundown of what happened. He went in detail regarding the whole thing about the mission going up from AC to an A-ranked one, as well as telling Hiruzen about Naruto's transformation when Zabuza supposedly killed him. Dismissing them and giving them their pay, he turned around and began to think, but his musings were cut short when he felt a very dark presence behind him. Slowly turning around, he came face to face with Naruto's mother Yami. Hi Hiruzen, she said darkly, making the age-old Kage cringe in fear. Hi Yami-sama, he said, why didn't you tell my son about his true identity and that he was my son? She asked, crossing her arms. I thought that it would be better if I kept it from him to keep him safe. Who knows what would have happened if he learned he was a demigod born from the goddess of demons and a human who came from a long-dead clan, said Hiruzen, only to have the goddess slam her hands on the desk. Don't give me that bullshit. My son has already learned of his true identity when he went on that mission. You only wanted him to be a loyal little pet to you. She snarled as her power flared around her. I would never do such a thing, pleaded Hiruzen as he placed his hands up in a display of surrender. Just know that if I find out you're lying, I'll personally come down here and kill you myself. Spat Yami as she vanished from sight in the form of hellfire. Hiruzen relaxed as he slouched in his chair. Looking back at the village, he could only guess as to what the demigod was up to. With Naruto walking around the village, Naruto could feel the true intentions of people as he walked past them. Thanks to him unlocking his true power, everything was more clearer. The thoughts of people sounded in his head as if they were his own thoughts. Some were words of pity while they held faces of disgust, while others were the same to what they were showing. Finally making it to his apartment, Naruto reached for the door knob only to find it unlocked and slightly open. Gripping Yamato and pushing it open, he walked in. As he took a step inside, he heard the sounds of crockery and cutlery being clinked together, not to mention the pair of high-heeled boots at his door. Making his way into the room, he found a very glorious sight. Standing there in an outfit that consisted of black short skirt, a black bra and a black leather jacket, which was also accompanied with a black police hat and blonde hair that reached the back of her knees, or it was longer, was a woman that looked like a goddess herself. Or maybe she was one. Her perfect hourglass figure was complemented by her generous bust being what Naruto thought was a definite G-cup. The girl spun around and soon enough smiled to him seductively, knowing that she had him in her grasps. Her eyes were such a nice warm purple color with slits in them. Hello Naruto-chan, glad you could make it, she purred as she sauntered over to Naruto. Who are you? Asked Naruto as he tried to not look her up. My name is Bishamon, but you may call me Bishamon-chan, big boy, and I think you know why I'm here, she said, placing her mouth to his ear whispering. And no I don't, responded Naruto as he stepped back only to have his back hit the wall. Bishamon just smiled very sultry and walked over to him, swaying her hips as she did so. Naruto's eyes soon enough gave in and fixed themselves onto her wide hips, smiling further. She knew she had him right where she wanted him. Taking a hold of his hand, she licked the fingers and placed it on her left eyes. Naruto did the most logical thing any demigod would have done in this situation. Firing off a massive nosebleed, he fainted right then and there. Dropping like a rock, the common thud was heard as he passed out. Bishamon just smirked heavily at what she did got her desired effect. Kneeling down to him, she placed a kiss on his lips and left via a white flash. Waking up and slowly sitting, he looked to find Bishamon gone and the room how he left it. He made his way over to the mirror in his bathroom. Staring back at him was his face with the blazing red left eye. Sighing at thinking this was going to be problematic in the future, he heard his mother call from inside the house. Walking out and looking into the dining room, he found there his mother. Sitting at the table, she smiled to him. Now Sochi, you're probably wondering if the villages will find a new means of getting you executed. But I have a means of helping you with that eye of yours, said Yami as she folded her arms. How? asked Naruto as he sat down on the opposite side. Here, replied Yami holding out a black eye patch with an upside-down tri-infinity on it. What's this? Asked Naruto taking the eye patch. It will suppress that blazing eye of yours, believe it or not. But your eye is actually one of the most powerfulest things in your arsenal stemming from my side of the family, said Yami making Naruto lean in. Really? Asked Naruto intrigued that his powers on his mother's side was so strong. Hi, now your eye is what we call the evil eye. It holds the very power to draw out a person's hatred, allowing you to use that against them. However, it has a more frontal attack while that is its passive ability. The frontal ability is the ability to summon up your full demonic strength, said Yami with Naruto nodding in understandment. And that would mean my powers on your side of the family are bolstered to more powerful heights, said Naruto as Yami held out her finger to him as if to stop him. Not only that, if your evil eye is out for a set number of time, you will be able to go into a very powerful state of transforming which only you and a select number of demons can do. It's called Hell Trigger, said Yami as she watched her son look at her with confusion. This only made her chuckle. Hell Trigger is the pinnacle of your powers. You basically take on a more demonic appearance where you turn into a demon yourself. Everything is increased, and you can take on a more vicious approach. As well as mowing down hordes of enemies in a single shot, each person's Hell Trigger works differently, and depending on the situation will determine the best solution for the use of one's Hell Trigger, said Yami. So I can go into this form wherever I wish? Asked Naruto very excitedly at the power he had. Yes, but you won't be able to use it right now. Your body and power had only just awakened, so if you try and use your Hell Trigger right now you'd seriously damage yourself, said Yami as Naruto's face died out of color. Yami just chuckled to herself. Don't worry, with enough training you can gain the necessary strength to use it, but as of now, it won't work. The only power you have with your demonic heritage, you have Devil's Curse and Devil's Storm, said Yami as she watched Naruto's face light up. Any other abilities? Asked Naruto. You have many, you just need to train, said Yami as she vanished from sight. Looking at the eye patch, he slowly brought it up to his eye and placed it on. As soon as the eye was covered, he felt woozy. Placing a hand on the table to steady himself, he found that his powers were a lot more controlled. It was like he had slammed the brakes on a massive stream of raging water, whereas when he didn't have the eye patch his powers were on a whole new level. Looking on the couch in his living room he found a set of nice-looking threads that were a full black apart from the one on top that had red lining. On them was a note with a lipstick mark on it. Taking hold of the letter he read the contents. It read, Hey there sexy. Hope you like the new threads I got you. Much better than that crap piece of shit you used to wear. Hope to see you soon, hot stuff. As well, these are the best in combat. The coat offers protection against anything, from bullets to what you call jutsu. Every piece of clothing has been fused with a special trait that I want you to find out for yourself. As well, you'll find something very nice in the pocket, and under these clothes, as well as some gear. Enjoy, Bishamon. P.S. See you around. Taking hold of the coat he opened it up, and found it to be a very nice fitting coat. As well it was a trench coat with a very big hood on it. The coat itself was quite light, which he found out when he picked it up. Hanging it over the back of the couch he moved the other articles of clothes to find 2 pistols under the clothes. To be precise, one was a Desert Eagle, the other a .44 Magnum. The Desert Eagle was a pure gold while the revolver was a pure black. Smiling heavily he took the clothes and got changed. After a few minutes he walked out and found it to be a very nice fit. He really had to thank Bishamon when he saw her again. Looking back at the couch he found a pair of black combat boots. Sitting down and putting them on he marveled at his new look, at what he now looked like. He was a totally different person now, and that was just the clothes alone, like a badass had just been born. Reaching and putting on the trench coat he felt the fabric relax around him. Realizing that the message mentioned something about something in the pocket he fished it out. Pulling it out he fell over with a massive nosebleed. On the piece of paper was Bishamon, but she was in a 2-piece bikini that looked to be too small for her. She stood by the beach posing very sexily, and she had a very seductive smile on her face. Getting over his nosebleed by plugging up his nose with tissues he pocketed the picture while muttering something about gorgeous goddesses giving him nosebleeds. Taking the 2 pistols he put them in the holsters that somehow appeared out of nowhere. Placing them in the holsters with the Desert Eagle on the left and the revolver on the right he watched as the holsters and the guns glowed white before vanishing from sight. Clearly liking how things would turn out he made his way to a training ground to learn of his new powers and abilities. Walking along, he found that people gave him strange looks that weren't that of hatred, but ones of wanting and lust. It must be because of his new look. This just made him slightly angry at the fact that because he now looked different, he now had women after him. Why did things turn out like this? Finally getting to a training ground, he concentrated, and the pistols he had stowed away flashed and were waiting to be drawn. Pulling out the Desert Eagle, he aimed the pistol at one of the trees and pulled the trigger. Finding the weapon had no recoil but the substantial amount of firepower if the training stump exploding wasn't anything to go by. Pocketing the eagle and pulling out the revolver, he took aim. Pulling the trigger, he found the bullet went slightly quicker than the one launched from the eagle, and it caused more damage than the other pistol. Looking inside the pistol by opening the cylinder, he found what looked to be 6 holes where bullets would go. There were 5 glowing rounds inside and one was empty, no doubt from when he fired the weapon. Pulling out the eagle, he opened the magazine and found 9 glowing bullets. Thinking about it, he thought that the weapons took small pieces of his power and created bullets. Smiling at this notion, he actually got a very big fright when he was tackled from behind and found Bishamon hugging him while rubbing herself against his back. "Hello, hello, hello," she squeaked as she nuzzled his neck. "Bishamon-chan? What are you doing here?" asked Naruto as he struggled to get the goddess off him. "I came here because I forgot to mention something about those pistols," she replied as she climbed off him, allowing him to get up. "What about them?" asked Naruto as he turned to look at her. "They take pieces of your power. Be it from your father or your mother's powers, they work either way, but you can also load them with regular bullets if you wish to conserve as much power as possible," said Bishamon as she crossed her arms. "So the guns will be able to do both types of damage," said Naruto as he watched Bishamon nod her head. "As well, Yami-san told me that you're the one who is the new Overlord. Congrats," she purred as she walked over to him. "Okay? Thanks. Why do I get the feeling you're going to tell me something?" said Naruto as he watched her stop an arm's length away from him. "It is customary for the Overlord to take on more than one mistress. With this fact you can have any girl you want. But there is one thing I demand," she replied in a cold tone at the last part of her sentence. "And that is?" asked Naruto, clearly unfazed about her cold glare. "That I be your first," she replied, making Naruto shoot back a couple feet. "See, come again?" questioned Naruto. "I want to be one of your mistresses. As well, I want to be your first. Can you handle that?" she purred as she licked her lips at the mere thought of them together. "Sigh, sure, why not?" said Naruto as he gave in to defeat. "Good!" she exclaimed as she tackled him again. "Now you should know that I don't play nicely with others, and I don't like other women who use you," she added as she licked his cheek and vanished from sight. "Damn, if I didn't know any better I'd say she wanted to get into my pants there," said Naruto as he got up and brushed himself off. Thinking it would be a good idea to create bullets just as Bishamon told him about the fact that pistols could take both ordinary rounds and supernatural bullets. He figured he'd need ordinary bullets if he would ever face the fact that he'd run out of power. Seeing an object on the ground, he picked it up and found that the object had some weight to it. The object itself was a bullet. Walking off to find a smith, he made his way to the village. Naruto finally made it to the smith and walked into the door. There he found Tenten, who was working on a sword of some sorts. Hearing the door open, she turned to the man and bowed. "Welcome, how can I help you?" she asked as she looked up and found herself staring at Naruto in his new look. "I'd like to know if you do custom orders," requested Naruto as he looked at her. "We do. What do you wish to have made?" she asked. "This," replied Naruto as he threw her the bullet. Catching the object and examining it, she came to the conclusion that she could very much make an object like this. Walking to the back, she found she had enough materials to create the object in question. Walking back, she found Naruto staring at one of the katanas that rested in the display window. "I have more than enough supplies to create this object. Will that be all?" she asked as she walked over to Naruto. "Yes, as a matter of fact, I need to know if you can answer 2 things of mine," said Naruto as he took the katana and unsheathed it to feel its weight and overall balance. "And that is?" asked Tenten. "Can you also make this?" "And how much for the katana?" asked Naruto as he pulled out the eagle and pulled out the magazine, which now had no bullets, and seeing that they were made from his power. Handing her the object, he watched as she went back to examine it. "Yes, I can make this. As for the sword, that will cost 150,000 ryo, she replied. "Okay, I'll come back. As for the bullets and magazine, I want you to go ahead with it. I'll consider the blade," said Naruto as he put it back and walked out the store, leaving Tenten standing there all dumbfounded. Was that really Naruto? she said to herself as she walked behind the counter and got to work. As he walked along the streets, an Anbu appeared in a swirl of leaves in front of him. He had a dog mask on and had brown hair. "You're requested to see the council," he said as he grabbed Naruto and Shunshin to the council chambers. Appearing in the same manner, he glared daggers at the council. Half of the council was made up of the shinobi clan heads, while the other half was the civilian side. "What is it this time?" snapped Naruto, only to have Hamura shout at the boy. "You will respect us, you impudent demon. You should be on your knees before us," she snapped, only to feel such despair wash over her as Naruto's hand made its way to his eye patch. "Respect? Demon? Ha, you hold no right to call me such words. Why would I respect you when all you've done is take from me?" snarled Naruto as he slowly pushed his eye patch up, only to have someone grab his arm. Looking at the person who did it, he found his mother holding his arm and shaking her head, telling him to stop doing what he was about to do. "Naruto Sochi, don't open that eye of yours. Your power will be forced to be restrained by these assholes, and if that happens, you can like to find yourself in a jam should you be in that position," said Yami as she felt Naruto's hand relax, making her let go of her son's hand. "Okay," was all Naruto said as he let his hand fall from his eye patch. He also took notice that his mother's eyes weren't in their blazing nature like his eye was. They were such a beautiful crimson color. "Who are you, slut?" asked a fat civilian council member, as he stood up, only to have Yami push him down with her powers. "Now don't you dare say anything like that. I'm just as bad as my son here when it comes to tempers," she growled, making the civilian and shinobi sides nearly piss themselves in fear. "I'm taking my son home to train him in using his powers properly. You'll see him at the beginning of the Chunin exams," said Yami, only to have Hamura jump back up like the dumb shit she was. "That demon isn't going anywhere. He belongs here as a weapon," the elder said, only to be pushed back by Naruto, who used his powers. "I am going, and there's nothing you can do to stop me," he growled as Yami smiled to him and vanished in a swirl of demonic flames. "Such a pain," said Shikaku as he leaned back with a sigh. "Who was that?" asked Hayashi, turning to Hiruzen. "The goddess of demons herself," he replied. "Then we just lost our opportunity to use that brat as a more powerful weapon. He should stay here," said Danzo, only to have Hiruzen glare daggers at him. "Should Yami-sama find out that Naruto was defiled in such a manner, she'd kill us all," replied Hiruzen, only to have the age-old warhawk scoff at the idea. "That stupid whore can't do anything. She is only good for one thing, like all demons, and that is spreading their legs to any guy they see," said Danzo, only to have Hiruzen order 4ANBU to take Danzo to the TI department. "That's why I don't want to get on Yami-sama's bad side. Danzo, you are hereby subjected to the loving care of Anko. You will stay there until 3 months are up," said Hiruzen, making the ANBU shunshin him away. In a flash of flames and a swirling manner, Naruto found himself in the Underworld, facing a very magnificent castle. But not the Underworld he knew. This one seemed more peaceful, more relaxed. His mother was already walking off, so he sprinted to catch up with her. "What is this place?" asked Naruto, trying to know exactly where he was. "Why, this is the Underworld," replied his mother, "but it looks more," trailed Naruto as he looked up and watched a dragon fly overhead. "Peaceful? That's because this is the other side of the Underworld, where the noble demon and the demon king live, and above them is this place, my home," said Yami with a chuckle as she stopped at a ledge and pointed out toward an area that had a demonic red glow with the distant sounds of people crying out in pain. "There is the real Underworld you know of. There is where all the riff-raff are," said Yami as she continued her walk into the castle. The doors burst open and a woman with black straight hair bowed to them. Bringing herself up, Naruto blushed at who was before him. She had a very well-endowed figure on her, as the only top piece of clothes she wore was a belly shirt. The lower half was a skirt that stopped at her knees. Her eyes were a beautiful emerald color, and her head was heart-shaped. "Welcome home, Yami-sama, Naruto-sama," she said. "Hello, Seraphim, how are you?" asked Yami. "Doing good, and I must say, your son is everything you told me about," said Seraphim as she turned to Naruto to find him blushing. "Thank you, he takes after his father in terms of looks," said Yami, taking Naruto to see his room. "This will be where you'll be staying when you return to Konoha to take part in the Chunin exams. I've made arrangements with Hiruzen to have your own house-type estate," said Yami, making Naruto's eyes widen. "The estate belonged to your father," added Yami, making Naruto understand that it was part of his inheritance. Getting accustomed to the lifestyle he'd be having in the Underworld, Naruto soon heard his mother tell him to meet in the courtyard. Walking into the courtyard, Naruto found his mother standing there holding her own weapon, which was a very demonic-looking scythe. First things first, hand over Yamato, said Yami, holding out her hand. Why? Asked Naruto, tightening his grip on Yamato. You must learn to use your power more better. Yamato is a power-based weapon. The stronger the master, the more volatile the weapon. As you may have experienced, the blade only responds to your most strongest emotions. Like when you were going to be attacked by those thugs, Yamato was used at its full potential. Now that you've awoken, the more your powers grow, the harder it is. This is what I'll be teaching you, said Yami, only to have Naruto scoff at the idea. Yami just sighed as she placed a hand on her forehead as it was hung in defeat. Pull off that eye patch, she barked. Doing as she instructed, Naruto yanked the piece of cloth off his eye and his blazing eye sprung to life. Instantly Naruto felt his power increase tenfold, like he was more powerful than anything ever. Now use the Minion slicer on this apple, slice it in 2 pieces. Watch my hand please, I'm kind of attached to it you know, ordered Yami, holding up an apple. Doing again as his mother instructed, Naruto drew the blade and slowly retracted it back into its sheath. But when the click was heard, the mountain on the far end of the underworld slid off with a powerful echo heard. Whoops, said Naruto as he scratched the back of his head. See what I mean? That power of yours is extremely strong. I'm going to train you in using your powers to their fullest. Once mastered, we're moving on to controlling your Hell Trigger, followed by your Seraph State, said Yami. Hell Trigger, I know. What is this Seraph State? Asked Naruto. Oh right, Seraph State is a mix of your Hell Trigger. But instead of just pushing out your blaze power, you push out your overall power on your father's side. What happens is that your Hell Trigger becomes overloaded and you enter a very powerful frenzy state. But on a light blaze side, Seraph State, explained Yami, with Naruto nodding at what she meant. Handing over Yamato, Naruto got ready to train. Yami smiled as she snapped her fingers. Instantly, they were at the lava's edge that was well far away from the castle. Naruto stood on a spike that resting in the lava's center while Yami had her demonic wings open and floated above him. What the hell? Asked Naruto, making Yami laugh so hard she began to cry. That was the exact same thing your father said when I did this to him. For your first lesson, you are to meditate here, on this very spike. You are to push your blaze power out in such a manner to where you create a platform under your feet, said Yami. What would happen if I fall in? Asked Naruto, concerned for his safety. You'll be in extreme pain. Your father almost fell in. But I saved him because I felt drawn to him. I want you to do your best. See you in a week, said Yami, vanishing. Sighing as a huff of how much this was a pain, he got to work on feeling out his blaze power. It was pretty easy to grasp, as the QB inside him helped emphasize its potency. But just as Naruto was about to get ready, his mother returned and slammed her hand into his gut. I'll take that, she said. That is considered cheating. Bringing her hand out was a white orb that took on the form of a little fox with 9 tails resting on her shoulder. Why not? Whined Naruto as he struggled to hold up his platform that was now weak from having QB taken out of him. Because if QB remained in you, he'd be drawing out your blaze power without him knowing. You must do this without help, said Yami. Groaning but also agreeing with her, Naruto went back to concentrating on making his platform, and once again, Yami vanished from sight to be back in her castle balcony. Seraphim too watched as she watched what the young demigod could do. She also was slightly drawn to him. In Konoha, walking along the roads, we find a woman who was one of the most beautiful women in all of the elemental nations. Her blood-red hair flowed and played in the wind as she walked to the apartment of Naruto, not knowing he was gone. Despite seeing him a few times when he went to the academy, and a few times seeing his train more and more to be better than anything in the world, she felt really drawn to him. She knew it was wrong. An older woman lusting after a younger man. But she didn't care, she wanted him. As she walked along the road she bumped into Naruto's bastard teammate, Sasuke. Uchiha, said Kushina as she looked down her nose to him. Uzumaki, snorted Sasuke as he walked past her. Damn it, why won't she agree to going out with me? She should feel honored for being with me, mentally shouted Sasuke as he continued on his way. Making it up to the apartment, she breathed in a breath of courage and knocked on the door. No answer was heard, so she knocked again, finding the door open. Slowly pushing it to be fully open, she walked inside. Hello? Naruto-kun, listen, I wanted to let you know that I have a serious secret to tell you. One that has been eating away at me ever since I saw you for the first time. I want to tell you that I love you. And I want to be with you no matter what happens, said Kushina as she walked into the apartment, and found a letter resting on the table. It was addressed to her. Opening the letter, she read it over. It read as, Dear Kushina-chan, I know about your secret for a long time. I know you had a crush on me ever since you began to spy on me. But I want you to know is that you were always on my mind as well. But circumstances have proved more different that I'll explain to you when I get back. I promise, I'll take you out on a date. I'll be thinking of you every time I close my eyes as I go to bed from where I am. I know it is wrong. But I too don't give a shit. I love you. Naruto. Kushina soon found herself blushing and give out a girlish scream that her crush too loved her. Naruto loved her. Pocketing the letter and leaving the apartment, she shot to her own apartment, and read over the letter over and over again. Wherever Naruto was, she was glad that he felt the same way about her. It had been over 2 weeks since Naruto was taken to the Underworld to train and honing his powers on his mother's side, but training on his father's powers was a very big challenge. With his father dead, it was a case of trial by fire, which was a bit frustrating. He had already unlocked a few abilities on his father's side. For instance, he could use the power to boost his overall strength and speed, allowing him to move more faster and win fights in mere seconds, but it was somewhat uncontrollable and would quickly tire him out, so Yami ensured that he would only use it as a last resort. As well, he had unlocked something called Divine Fury, a powerful area attack that dealt heavy damage. It could also be narrowed to a beam for concentrated accuracy. As well, while Naruto trained, a minion clad in some rags and what looked like a type of light source above his head appeared with some minions. Some were green, some were red, while the rest were blue and brown. He introduced himself as Naruto, the advisor of the Overlords, and he had come to train Naruto to use the minions in a powerful and effective way. So we find him in front of the castle, several minions around him as Naruto was being trained by Naruto. What the aged minion was teaching him was to interface his mind with the minions and use them in a possessed state. Sire, this calls for a large amount of willpower. Controlling your minions from afar is easy, but to control them from afar while being there is even harder. Focus on a single minion and interface with his mind. Don't worry, they like it, said Naruto. Doing as instructed, Naruto focused his mind on one of the reds. Doing everything in his power, he found a slight tugging sensation in his mind. It came in whispers and was very soft to the ear. Pushing more into it, Naruto soon found himself in the body of a minion, the one he desired to interface with more specifically. Turning the minion around, Naruto found his own body floating in mid-air while blue and red energies arced off his body. Very good work, sire. Thus concludes our training. One more thing you must know, is the more you practice with the summoning of your strength and training in them, the more minions you can summon to the battlefield. Don't worry. Minions will happily sacrifice themselves for their master, said Naruto as he vanished from sight along with the minions. Yami and Seraphim were seen walking out of the castle with Yami holding Yamato in her hands. Done training? She chimed. Yeah, I'm done, said Naruto looking at his mother and then to Seraphim, who smiled to him. Over the weeks while Naruto trained in the Underworld, his relationship with the vampire grew more. They went out a few times, but they didn't kiss as Seraphim told him that should they kiss will result in them being married. Naruto didn't see the problem but was willing to give Seraphim the time to get to grips with the notion of being married to the demigod, customs and shit with her village. Now Sochi, it is time for you to learn how to use your power of Hell Trigger and Seraph State. But first things first, take off that eye patch, said Yami with Naruto doing as she instructed. Pulling it off, Naruto opened his eye to show it blazing nature with his overall power increasing more. Yami nodded and walked over to him. Good, now that your power is activated, you will find that you can do more. Now try and push more power into it, said Yami. Again, doing as his mother commanded, Naruto pushed more power slowly into the raging power in him. But while he did that, he felt a spike in his strength. Letting it go, he looked at Yami, who was shaking her head. What was that? Asked Naruto in a panic. That was your Hell Trigger surfacing. By pushing more power into the raging one, you are in a sense overloading your power. That small spike was that very reason. Do it again. And don't be scared, said Yami. Nodding his head and doing it again, Naruto pushed more of his power into the raging blaze power in him. Feeling the spike, he carried it on. Naruto didn't feel anything over than that he was getting more stronger really fast. It was a little slow, but it was something. Seraphim's eyes widened at what was happening to Naruto. From their point of view, Naruto's hair turned from its charcoal black color to a snow white one, Red veins appeared under his eyes and his black coat turned a fiery red with red mist flowing off his body. The surrounding area around him became a chaotic version of a hurricane, as white clouds spun angrily around the focal point. Yami nodded her head in her being proud of what her son just did. It was still a long while until Naruto could simply call on it. It takes such a long time to activate, but it was still a start. Great job, Sochi, let's call it a day, said Yami as Naruto deactivated his held trigger with him nearly passing out. Will I always feel this way? Asked Naruto. On some occasions, it's all determined on how many times and how long you use it, replied Yami, walking back into the castle, leaving Seraphim and Naruto behind. So listen, Naruto-kun, started Seraphim. Yes? Asked Naruto, looking at her. See, can we go out on a date again? She asked as she fiddled with her hands. Sure, I've got nothing else to do, replied Naruto. Taking her hand, they walked along the pathway down to the town that resided in the posh areas of the Underworld. They made their way into one of the restaurants, and ate some delicious food. After that, they enjoyed some festivities and Naruto won her a cute little stuffed bat. Seraphim thanked him for it, but Naruto picked up that there was something eating her inside. Stopping under a tree in the Underworld, Naruto turned to her. Seraphim, what's wrong? You seem to be out of it, said Naruto, concerned about the vampire. Well, it's about me, she said as she hung her head. What is it? Asked Naruto. I love you, and I want to be with you. I've talked with myself to come to grips on what I want, so I thought, I'll just do it, said Seraphim, walking over to Naruto. Do what? Asked Naruto, only to have Seraphim kiss him on the lips, sealing the fact that she is now married to him. That I just gave you my life, my body, I want you, she said as she rested her head on his chest. Sera-chan, said Naruto as he pulled her face up and tackled her lips once more. Seraphim moaned into the kiss as their tongues danced in each other's mouths. Dropping the stuffed bat, she wrapped her arms around his neck, drawing him closer to her and deepening the kiss. Breaking the kiss, Naruto looked into her eyes as they turned to its hazing nature of lust and want. You sure about this? Asked Naruto, only to have Seraphim lock lips once more. I do, she replied. Then I'll treat you well, said Naruto as he picked her up bridal style and used his flames to reappear in his bedroom in the castle. Lemon, with Seraphim, oh yeah. Falling onto the bed with Seraphim underneath him, Naruto made quick work on getting her out of her clothes while keeping his lips meshed with hers. Seraphim did the same as she undid Naruto's pants. Breaking from the kiss as she breathed in sharply, placing a hand on his toned chest, she smiled to him as she licked her lips. Naruto smiled at her too as he tackled her lips once more. At that moment, Seraphim felt something poking her in the thigh. Looking down, she saw his 9-inch rod, standing at attention and waiting for her. Once again she broke the kiss. I want you, she said. I want you too, replied Naruto as he began his descent, placing kisses along her body on his journey down. Reaching her womanhood, he began to lick and taste her. Arching her back at the feeling, she let a moan escape her lips. It felt so good she didn't want it to end. But the pleasure became more as Naruto inserted his tongue. Gasping as she arched her back more, she pushed Naruto's head in more with her legs. That feels good, she moaned. Naruto continued tonguing her, enjoying and savoring every taste she had to offer him. Retracting his tongue, he inserted 2 fingers and began pumping her, reaching up and kissing her on her lips. Blocking her moans from being heard, Seraphim soon found himself reaching her limits. Breaking from the kiss as she pushed his head between her leg, she breathed sharply as she felt his fingers in her. Her walls tightened and soon her cries of pleasure echoed through the room as she came. Pulling his fingers out of her and licking them, he smiled to her, moaning as his eyes never left hers. Delicious, said Naruto, only to have Seraphim turn him over to where she was on top. Then why don't I taste you, she said as she went to the end of the bed, climbed off and kneeled before his member. Taking it into her slender fingers, she slowly pumped him, making him groan in pleasure. Licking her lips as she took the whole thing into her mouth, she locked eyes with him as her head bobbed up and down on his shaft. Naruto just kept his smile of pleasure as she continued her actions. The feeling was amazing and he too didn't want it to end. Running his fingers through her beautiful raven hair, he was earned with a purr from her as she quickened her actions. Sera-chan, I'm gonna, trailed Naruto, not being able to form words from the pleasure crowding his mind. I'm gonna, he tried again. Seraphim knew what was happening. She wanted it. She wanted to taste him. And she soon did as ropes of Naruto's seed laced her mouth. Moaning as she swallowed it all, she slowly pulled his cock out her mouth with a popping sound in the end. So good, she purred as she climbed on top of him. Hovering over his cock, she slowly descended onto his cock. When the tip entered her folds, she moaned as she continued to push down. Reaching a barrier, she stopped and looked into Naruto's eyes, more like eye. Placing her hands on his cheeks, she kissed him as she slammed herself down, pushing straight past her hymen and giving each other their virginity. Seraphim screamed into the kiss as a small trickle of blood flowed down her leg. "Are you okay, Sarah-chan?" asked Naruto, breaking from the kiss. "Not really, just give me a few minutes," she responded as she maneuvered herself on his lap. After a few minutes, she breathed a sigh of relief and began to ride him. Moaning as she slowly moved up and down, Naruto grabbed her waist, helping her along as she placed her hands on his chest, slowly digging them into his chest, drawing some blood. "Oh, that feels good," she moaned as she left Naruto inside her. Latching his lips on one of her tits, Naruto began to suckle as she gasped in pleasure as her hands moved to be on his back, again digging into his flesh. Turning her over, Naruto and Seraphim were now in the missionary position. Naruto started slow, but began to build speed as his lover moaned more and more, locking him in place and giving him access to deeper parts of her. Seraphim latched onto his lips with her own as Naruto continued to fun her. "Sarah-chan, I'm close," he said as Seraphim grabbed the bed sheets above her head. Come inside me," she said. Quickening his paces, he fired his load into her waiting womb. Shot after shot entered her as she screamed in pleasure. Soon her fangs emerged, and she latched them onto his neck, drawing out his blood as she climaxed. Slowly opening his eyes to a new morning in the underworld, Naruto recalled the events that happened last night. The confession from Seraphim, the two of them kissing, which made Seraphim Naruto's wife, and then their moment of intimacy. It was perfect. Looking over to her sleeping form, Naruto watched as she slowly inhaled and then slowly exhaled. It was like she was built for royalty. Slowly stroking her raven black hair away from her face, he soon realized something that will probably get him killed by a goddess. Bishamon asked if she could be his first, and he agreed to it. Should Bishamon find out, there would be hell to play with. And Bishamon told him that she didn't play nicely with others. Things were definitely heading to the path of playing with hell. Naruto snickered to himself at that last line he thought of. He was the son of the goddess of hell, so in a sense he was next in line to rule over all hell. Seraphim stirred as she slowly opened her eyes and looked into her husband's eyes. Morning, love," she said as she maneuvered to give him a kiss. "Morning, Sarah-chan, sleep well?" asked Naruto as she smiled lovingly to him while caressing his cheek. "Very much, I'm so glad I am with you now, my husband," replied Seraphim as she slowly got out of bed and got dressed. Naruto too climbed out of bed and got dressed. Once dressed, they headed out, and soon found Yami sitting in the dining room as 3 girls stood behind her. One was a Nico-type demon with 2 black tails coming out her rear, while 2 black cat ears rested on her head. She had very amazing figure on her, and the way her kimono was hanging on her menture wasn't afraid to flaunt in. The next had horns shooting straight up. She had beautiful white hair and yellow eyes that somehow captivated Naruto very much. She wore a very skimpy bunny outfit, and her body did everything perfectly to emphasize that. She had chocolate-colored skin and some lip balm on her lips, and just like the Nico, she too had an amazing figure. The last was a woman in a type of priestess outfit. She had extremely long black hair and her eyes were a beautiful purple color. She had very well-endowed figure, as did the rest of the girls. But the last one really brought everything she had to the table. The way she acted, all innocent. She knew she had it, and wasn't afraid of getting what she wanted, was what Naruto managed to deduce. "Ah, morning, Sochi," said Yami as she placed her cutlery down and looked to her son as he sat down along with Seraphim. "Morning, Ka-san," said Naruto with a smile as he grabbed a glass of water and started drinking while Seraphim began to eat. "Have a nice time last night? Shaking the bed like that?" cooed Yami, only to have Naruto spray the water in his mouth out as he looked at his mother while Seraphim nearly choked on the food in the throat. "Yami-sama, you heard that?" said Seraphim as her face flushed crimson red. Naruto nearly thought she would go as red as Kushina's hair there. "Oh, of course I did, and probably half the underworld. Next time you wish to have sex, turn down the volume on your orgasms," said Yami with a giggle. "Ka-san," groaned Naruto as he sat back in his chair, "please don't discuss such things at the table." "Well, my boy has become a man, this is a glorious occasion, and I thought I'd help you out with these fine women behind me," said Yami as the 3 women bowed to Naruto. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Naruto-sama," they said in unison. And who are they? Asked Naruto as he looked at his mother, who was now smiling innocently like she did nothing. It is customary for an overlord to have more than one mistress, so I wanted to thicken the stew. What do you say? Asked Yami as Naruto hung his head in defeat. Sure, why not, sighed Naruto while Seraphim huffed in exasperation at what would happen here. But she knew she had to get used to it, as she was now married by vampire standards to the new overlord, and she was his first, so she had that trump card in her deck of cards now. Excellent, now, why don't you introduce yourselves? Stated Yami as the first one with the Nico ears stepped forward first. My name is Kuroka. I am a Nico-type demon who is good at most things. I enjoy combat, reading and learning new things. I hate people who act all high and mighty. My hobbies enjoy learning how to be a better woman, and my dream is to be the wife of the new overlord, said the girl as Seraphim shot her a look that stated that the title of wife to the overlord was already taken. Okay, Naruto definitely shot his mother a look as if to say, what the bloody fun are you doing? Yami simply smiled to him, still playing the charade that she did nothing wrong. She simply made a hand motion that they'd discuss it later. Sighing in frustration, the next woman went ahead. My name is Zest. I'm very good with cleaning, cooking and doing chores. I am also a powerful summoner, and can even hold my own against every demon lord in the underworld. But I've never been able to go toe-to-toe against Kyuubi, much less you, my lord. My hobbies include trying new combinations of foods, developing my full powers and growing to be a better woman, said the second girl, and she stepped back. Seraphim's attitude changed for the second one. She found her to be very humble and kind as well as caring, but she smelt a hidden agenda on Zest, and frankly, she didn't like it, so she decided to keep a close eye on her for the time being. The final woman stepped forward. My name is Akino. I am a half-fallen angel, half-devil, making me a corrupted Nephilim. I hold a deep respect for those who hold power, like yourself. My hobbies include art training, furthering my powers and learning new ways to gain higher abilities of strength and speed. And my dream is to give birth to powerful children, and make sure you're pleased in the bed, my lord, said the last girl, making Seraphim spit out the drink she had. Tea, that is a bit extreme, she stammered as she wiped her mouth with a napkin. Extreme, but necessary, said Yami with a smile as she got up along with her son. Naruto simply placed down his knife and fork in a smooth yet subtle manner as he pushed his chair out along with his mother. Seraphim knew Naruto enough to know that he was slightly upset when he did that. She couldn't say she blamed him, as Yami did throw in more women for him to have. Walking into the next room, Naruto turned to his mother with a rather cheesed-off face adorning his features. Yami simply stood there, the smile on her face, never leaving her lips as she looked to her son as he began to fume. Okay, Ka-san, what's your angle? Asked Naruto sternly as Yami threw her hands up in surrender. All I was doing is helping you get more mistresses, said Yami, only to have Naruto slam his fist into the wall next to him, his fist going straight through the brickwork. Don't give me that. What really is your angle? I was planning on starting a family with Sarah-chan, or is she not enough? Asked Naruto, clearly trapping his mother right there. That is not true. I want grandchildren from you, of course. But you should consider the fact that the Overlord always has more than one mistress. Women basically line up by your bedroom as you romp them into oblivion, impregnating them with mini-yous. Don't you want a bigger family? I sure want to have more than one grandchild from you. I don't care if they don't share the same mother. I don't care if you adopted them. All I want is grandchildren. Can you please do that for me? Asked Yami, now sounding like she was pleading as she got on her knees and bowed to her son. Naruto was simply stunned. His own mother was bowing to him, begging him for grandchildren, and she even went out of her way to find 3 perfect women to bring back to the castle and present to him to have as his mistresses. Naruto hung his head in defeat. For his mother being a goddess, she sure as hell knew how to pull on his heartstrings. A powerful sigh escaped his lips as he placed a hand on his mother's shoulder. Fine, I'll do it, said Naruto. Perfect. And if it isn't much, there's one final woman I want you to meet, said Yami with reignited fire, and Naruto's sweat dropping at how he fell for that trick. And who is that? Asked Naruto, raising an eyebrow. Her name is Chisato. She works in the hospital of the village you live in. She works close to your father's estate. Make sure you pop her a visit. She and Bishamon-chan will teach you how to control your seraph state and your father's power. Treat Chisato-chan with the love you show others. As well, make sure you give Bishamon-chan your love as well, added Yami, only to have Naruto facepalm himself. I've already seen Bishamon-chan. She asked she could be my first and I said yes. And seeing that I had sex with Sarah-chan, trailed Naruto as his mother burst into full-blown laughter. For a couple minutes, Naruto stood there, slowly getting mad at his mother as she laughed at her son. She couldn't believe as to what her son had done. And she knew Bishamon. This was getting really good. Oh, how she was wanting to see the outcome of this. It's not funny, said Naruto, finally giving in to how his mother was laughing at him, and him gaining a tick mark on his head. It is, oh it is, said Yami, slowly getting up. Then do share as to why it's funny to you, asked Naruto, folding his arms while his eyebrows lowered to a scold. Bishamon-chan doesn't play nicely with others, as you know, so she more tolerates than anything else. And if she says she wants to be your first, then you better make sure you are her first, as she'll turn your ass into Swiss cheese. And seeing that you no longer have your virginity intact anymore, she's gonna come down on you harder than a ton of bricks. Please let me know when the beating takes place so I can get the popcorn ready, giggled Yami as she shook her head while still trying to contain herself. Well, that's just grand, so I'll be having my life as the new Overlord cut short then, said Naruto. Nope, she'll just bring it up every time she can and make you feel bad. She is after all the goddess of war, replied Yami as she nearly broke down in giggles again at the face of her son. Great, so I'm gonna have a mistress who is the goddess of war, and then she's gonna kick my ass, said Naruto as Yami nodded her head. Don't let it get you down, you after all can make it up to her by other means, said Yami, with Naruto seeing where she was going. Ah, gotcha Ka-san, said Naruto as they walked out. So, these fine women will be joining me up top, yes? Said Naruto as he watched their eyes gleam in happiness that he chose them. Yes, so will Sarah-chan. They will do everything while you're not there, like ensuring everything is in order, keeping the place neat, and ensuring you have everything you need, as well. Make sure you can make them feel good as a way to say, thanks for everything you've done, said Yami with a perverted grin on her face as she pictured little Naruto's running around the house. Whatever, can you just send us to the surface? Asked Naruto. Very well, good luck Sochi. Ensure the Overlord line runs thick in everything you do. Oh, before I forget, Nal has already ordered the Browns to begin creation on your Dark Tower. It is in Limbo, a place between life and death. Special teleporters will be used to access the tower. It will be done in a week, said Yami as she opened a portal. Thanks Ka-san, said Naruto as the five of them stepped through the portal and found themselves inside a very nice-looking house that looked to be a mansion. Looking around to find a stairwell that went both ways, one to the right and one to the left at the top while they joined together at the main hall. But looking right at the top of the stairs before they split, a portrait adorned the wall. It was a family-sized picture, and it showed a man standing up who was in very regal clothing that consisted of a red shirt, red tie and black blazer, black pants and shoes, standing behind a chair with a woman who was Naruto's mother sitting on the chair with a slightly swollen belly. Walking up the stairs and placing his hand on the portrait, Naruto soon felt like there was power coming off the portrait. Looking down to find what seemed to be the family emblem, which was that of a sword with two angelic wings on either side, while under each wing was the yin and yang. On the left was yin, and under the other was yang. Naruto-dano, glad you could make it, said a voice. Turning to find Kyubi on the second floor still in his fox form, Naruto smiled to the bijou as he slowly made his way down the stairs and bowed to the prince. Ah Kyubi, good to see you again. How did you get here? Asked Naruto. Yami-sama sent me here as a means of keeping the place safe along with those you love. Please keep in mind that I wish to do this as a way to keep my oath of keeping you safe, said Kyubi. Your sense of honor enlightens me. I thank you for that, said Naruto as Kyubi looked up to him. I thank you, my lord, said Kyubi as he went away. Nice house, said Zest as she looked around with the other three. This was my father's estate. He and my Ka-san must have lived in here before I was born, said Naruto. We'll get settled in right away. Let us know if you need anything, said Akino as they walked up to the second floor and got settled in some of the rooms. Naruto too decided to get settled into one of the rooms. Walking up the left side of the stairs, he walked along the halls, running his hand along the balcony. Pictures and sculptures adorned the sides as he looked across each room. He found a library in one, a bathroom in the other, and a very nice closet in the other. But right at the end of the hall was the very room he chose. It was the master bedroom. Now sleeping in the same bed as your parents felt weird, but Yami ensured that Naruto could use it, but it just didn't sit well with him. Getting rid of the bed and bringing in a new one using his newfound strength, he placed it in the bedroom. The new bed he decorated with some very nice royal red-style bed sheets, red pillows with the family crest on it, even opened some windows to allow the room that was once uninhabited to breathe once more. Now that was sorted out, he rolled up his sleeves and got to some cleaning. He didn't like the idea of letting the girls do it, so he grabbed a mop and bucket together with a broom and got to work. It didn't take long to get the house clean again, and frankly, Naruto discovered more of the house. He found where the kitchen was, where the guest rooms were, and where to find the training room. But as he put the last of the cleaning stuff away along with the others, a rather large object came surging out of the ground with 5 large spires shooting outwards, while in the middle opened up a sort of hole. It looked like a very sinister-looking crown-type hand as blue energy pulled into the thing. Stepping out was Gnarl and a few minions, being that of the greens, browns and reds, as well as a few blues. These, sire, will keep your temporal home in check. We can't have our new overlord doing all the work and then coming home to a dirty house, so we'll take care of it for you, said Gnarl. Thank you, Gnarl. Ensure they do it right, said Naruto as Gnarl gave a chuckle. Minions will always do everything for their master, even if it meant dying valiantly on the battlefield while his master escapes, said Gnarl. Excellent. Now if you don't mind, I have someone to meet, said Naruto as he left the building to Zest, Akino, Kuroka and Seraphim. Does he know what would happen if he is injured too seriously? Asked Akino. He doesn't. That is why Yami-sama is going to teach us along with Bishamon-chan to do our best at restraining him should his Seraph state break out, said Seraphim. I just hope we can, said Zest as she looked to the spot where Naruto was.